because Jade is also the co-author of Journaling Through Pregnancy. If we can specifically chat just a little bit about moms, if they, and we said even in the book, addiction, and like you mentioned as well, like wine or smoking or anything that could be detrimental to you, your health and the baby, right? But how would women, if they have these addictions, especially now and being pregnant, how can they manage that? How can they navigate that?
Yeah, I would say it's that one's a little bit of a tricky subject because people do have very strong opinions about navigating addiction and pregnancy. I would like consult a doctor first and foremost. Make sure you're having candid conversations about what you're using and how much you're using and what that looks like. If you're in the initial stages of pregnancy, that's something we covered in the book. Um, and also think about the impact like long term and where you want to be with your coping behaviors, and be candid about the impact that it may or may not have on your baby. um I would just obviously we wrote the section in the journal, and I would just take that opportunity to really do an inventory of where you're at if you're newly pregnant, to explore all those things. And there is a ton of supports in the community. If you just Google pregnancy supports, you know what I mean? Like there's lots of people that are willing to have that conversation in a non-judgmental fashion. Um, in no way do I want to make it sound like I'm an advocate for continuing using harmful substances while you're pregnant, but I understand that, particularly because I've worked with a lot of women, street entrenched women and stuff, that it doesn't always look like I thought it would look like in terms of how women are navigating through that. And so I really have to take my kind of personal perspective on that out of the mix, and really come from a harm reduction kind of model, which is meeting the person where they're at and really being candid about what's feasible at this time emotionally for the person. Because we have to understand as well that mothers, pregnant and otherwise, if they are in addiction, they're there for a reason. It's obviously, it sounds counterintuitive, but it's giving them something there that at that point they're not finding anywhere else. So to highlight how they can transition to a healthier avenue is very important. But also, the language that we're using when we're having that conversation is very important as well. So I know our mantra for the last one was gentle, gentle, gentle. I brought that up, and that still stands because it's very important, to understand that some women, even though they're pregnant, really struggle with like moving out of their addictive behaviors. And just because they're pregnant doesn't mean that all trauma or inability to deal with emotions just goes away. That those things are still there. So you have to be compassionate towards yourself, and I know lots of women who are doing the best they can, and each case is different as well. You don't really want to blanket everything because there's so many factors involved. So I know there's kind of like a mashup of words, but it's hard to condense this conversation, and it's hard to um, do the topic complete justice in this kind of short conversation. But I hope that somewhat answers the question.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, I think that is what all of the journals and all of the work that you are doing is we come in anywhere we come in, we come with our own ideas, our own perceptions, our own energies. And if we really want to be compassionate and help other people, we do need to let the ego go and just come in with eyes of love and just say, we're here to support you, we're here to help you, give them their autonomy, because I think that is important too, right? Let them make some of these decisions for themselves. And I think that is also a recurring theme when you deal with people who have traumatic experiences, right? They're going to know what is really, really good for them at which time. You can guide them, right? But we're not here to judge. We're not also here to rescue them in that sense as well, right? Would you
That
agree with that?
absolutely, yeah. We don't have nobody wants to engage in like a codependent journey. Autonomy is so important, especially people who have been through traumatic experiences, because many of those people, myself included, have been in situations where they feel like they don't have a choice or something's been forced upon them, and there's no pride in that. Like, people just do know what's best for them at that time, and people generally know what they can handle as well. So what I can handle might not be what the next person can, and what I'm prepared to embark on at this time might not be what the next mother is able to. So I think just getting her to a place where she feels comfortable with where she's at and the progress that she's making, and also goal setting for um, the rest of the pregnancy, for early motherhood, and for, to set her up to win through motherhood as, time kind of ticks on. Like, it's a long journey. So not everything has to be right now. And like I said, earlier, it's a very complex issue. There's lots of facets. Not all those can be understood, particularly by me, because I may not have all the markers or experience that someone else has, and I don't want to pretend that I do. And so there's different challenges that I'll never know and understand that mothers have. And so I have to be extremely mindful. We have to be extremely mindful of that as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.